Yo, what's good? What's good? Latrell in a hoodie, and welcome to another episode of the Brother Next Door podcast, where we talk about finance, personal development, and skills to get you further in life through actionable steps, and my own personal experiences. So, right into it, we are talking about the 5 hour rule. This comes from Michael Simmons, and this dates all the way back to Benjamin Franklin. So, the idea of the 5 hour rule is you take 1 hour every single weekday, and you devote that hour to learning a new skill set, right? Now, originally, it's based off doing it with a book and reading, but you can also do it with audiobooks. You can also do it with YouTube videos. But I honestly believe that the best method is through reading, right? Why? Because you're devoting your undivided attention to that thing, right? Will your mind go elsewhere? Will your mind? Yes, that does happen, right? But where you're actually physically sitting down and reading, that one, you're comprehending the information a lot better because not only are you using your reading skills, but you're also comprehending what you're reading and all that good stuff. So if you have the time, spend that hour reading or spend most of that time reading. I'm gonna break it down into what you should be doing with that hour. But if you can read, start out with 20 minutes. If that's all the time you got, right? Start out with 20 minutes, start out with 10 minutes, whatever it is. I started out with 10 pages a day. It was like, all right, I'm going to read this 10 pages a day. And then, then it's videos from there, right? Or audiobooks. But whatever you do, find time in your day to devote an hour. That's it. And that's the best part about this idea is it's only an hour, right? So you're not going to get burnt out from it. You're not. It's not the end of the world. It's literally taking an hour to focus on something that you either enjoy or use it, to advance further in your career, whatever it may be for you. But use that hour, focus on that one thing, right, and then grow. That's it. That's all it comes down to, right? And so understand with this hour, let's break it down. What are you going to do? Take time to, one, read, gain the knowledge, right? Second, you're going to reflect by analyzing and processing the information, right? So if it's a book, there's thousands of different strategies when it comes to reading books. Some people say after the first chapter, have an action plan for you after every chapter. And it's like, okay, if the first chapter is about, I don't know, whatever. If you're trying to learn how to sell, it's like, make the close. All right, we're focused on closing. Let me go practice closing, right? Whatever it is, whatever it may be for you. Um, Take the time not only to learn the information, but also to comprehend, analyze the information, review the information. Because it's one thing to take notes on it, it's one thing to learn it, but it's another thing to actually sit down with what you learned, really understand how it works, and be able to put it in your own terms, to even be able to teach it to somebody else. And that's another way to reinforce it, right? Is being able to learn it so well that you can teach it to a young adult or a kid. And then the last thing, which builds on top of each other, is being able to experiment and take action on the ideas that you learn, right? So not only do you want to learn it, not only do you want to take time to comprehend and really understand what's going on, but you want to understand through experimenting. If that's drumming, if that's piano, if that's sports, whatever it is. Okay, I learned this thing. Like for me, working out, I'm struggling with getting my grip strength up for deadlift. I'm good. My back is strong. Like there's a, I want to say 200-pound difference between when I lift with straps and without straps. Just strictly because of my what's it called, my grip strength. And so I watched a couple of videos and was like, all right, do this, do that. And so now I'm trying, taking action on those and experimenting with those when I go to the gym now. And so it's like, okay, hold it for 30 seconds or hold the bar, 225. Just hold the bar in your hand for, 20, 35 seconds and see if that improves. And it actually did. It worked. And so, I've been doing that for the past couple weeks and found some other methods that I'm gonna try. And so I advise that you do the same thing. It's like whatever you're struggling with in that field, or if you're not, if you're struggling with everything because it's a new field, start experimenting with it, right? When it comes to my engineering stuff, when it came to classes and learning the information, it was like, okay, this is a resistor. What does the resistor do? Okay, how does the resistor work? How much resistance can I put on this circuit before nothing outputs, right? Different stuff like that. Capacitance. What type of capacitor do I need? What size capacitor do I need? How small can it be before it blows up? Different things like that. And there's been plenty of times where I had to go and get new capacitors because I blew them up, right? And so it's just doing these little experiments to where it's like, okay, I understand the idea. Now let me put it into action for myself. And not only that, but let me go ahead and actually experiment and figure out what works and what doesn't work. What's a different way to make the same thing work? That's what you want to do. That's what you want to take your time doing, is experimenting with what works, what doesn't work, why it doesn't work for yourself, and not just taking people's word for it. Yes, history provides, great value. History, can save you a lot of time, but you want to be able to know for yourself, right? In some cases, I ain't gonna say all cases, but in some cases, you want to be able to experiment for yourself. Okay, if I do this, this is the result. If I do it this way, I get a better result, right? And so it's just being able to do trial and error during that hour, right? So split that up however you want to, right? It could be 30 minutes reading, 30 minutes podcast, 30 minutes whatever, and then the other 30 minutes is spent between reflecting and experimenting, or however you want to break it up. Do learning, and then the last 2 days are experimenting, and then reflecting on everything you learned throughout the week. It's really up to you, but take the time, take the hour every single weekday to devote to learning a new skill set or developing the skills you already have in order to get further in your career or start a new path in life and get further in that. But take that time to really dig down. Undivided attention, right? I'm harping on this because there's no point in doing it if you're gonna be spending half the time on your phone and then say, okay, cool, I got my hour in. Or you got your kids or you got whatever going on and you're not fully devote like that defeats the purpose. But taking an hour block, right? Taking that hour block and saying, I'm doing nothing but devoting my full attention to this thing, and you'll be surprised at how far you can get. Understand, with this comes the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? And so what this is basically, keep it dumb simple, is basically the more you learn, the less you believe you know, and then it flips again. So let me go ahead and read the definition from the Decision Lab. And so how they said it was, it's where a person with a lack of knowledge and skill in a certain area causes them to overestimate their competence. And then on the other hand, those who excel in a certain area believe that their task is simple for everyone and underestimates their relative abilities, right? And so I have a graph up to show you exactly what I mean. If that didn't make sense, if you wasn't really following, I got you. So basically, let's break this down. So at the very beginning of learning something, you have no confidence because you don't know anything, right? And then eventually, as you start to progress, for example, I played drums middle school and high school. So as you start progressing through sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, you start gaining a lot of confidence. You got your little drum pad, you doing your little beats, you doing your little permutations, you think you know everything, and then you eventually reach a certain point to where you know all the basics. You have a solid foundation of all the basics, And that's where it starts to go downhill. Because then, once you get there, then you start learning, you start getting into deeper stuff. And then it's like, okay, you know how to do these basic rhythms. Okay, let's do more advanced rhythms. Okay, let's do polyrhythms. Okay, let's do different things. Let's separate your hands and your feet. Let's start marching and drumming. Let's start, doing these different things. And then it's like, dang, I don't know as much as I thought I knew. Or I perceive that I don't know as much as I thought I knew. And so your competence is still raising, your competence is still rising, but your confidence starts to fall. Why? Because you feel like there's so much more out there that you don't know. And then eventually you'll get to the point, which I obviously never got to this point. You're not going to get there. Well, I don't believe you'll get there in 7 years between middle school and high school. But then you eventually get to the point to where it's like, oh, this is easy. The best way I can think of these type of people that reach, max out the competence, which you never really max out, but the competence level and the confidence, and it's very high at the very end, is professors. Everybody's had that professor that just speeds through subjects or speeds through topics in class. It's like, makes sense, right? Like, I have a professor like that this year. It just speeds through electromagnetics, just thinking like it's the easiest subject in the world for anybody to understand. And it's like, yes, the basics are easy to understand. Yes, the fundamentals behind electromagnetics is easy to understand. But when we start applying these basic things, that's where it starts to get confusing. That's where, people start to fold. And so, but he's just like, makes sense, right? Easy, right? It's like, no, it's not easy. It's not simple. And so you have to be aware of these people. And if you are this person, you need to be aware that you are this person and be able to, like I said, teach it to a kid, teach it to a fifth grader, right? Be able to teach it to a kid. That way, when it does come to, older people, older adults, or somebody just getting into the field, they're able to easily understand the subject, right? And so that is the Dunning Kruger effect when it comes to this 5 hour rule. Why do this? It makes you more interesting, right? You learn a new skill set. You learn some interesting facts or whatever. It makes you more interesting rather than, oh, I go to work, I come home, I go to the gym, I work out. Like yes, that's interesting. To me, it is. Yes, all that stuff's interesting. Yes, I want to know what you do. Yes, I want to know, how you get the gains. Yes, that's interesting to me. But it's like when you learn like different things that most people don't really take the time to learn, that makes you a more interesting individual and gives you more talking points during conversations. Next thing, it allows you to actually learn and enforce the information better than it would just what's it called? Better than just trying to take it all in 5 hours, right? I used to do this. I def senioritis got the best of me. I can't do it anymore, right? I can do it when it comes to podcasting, but when it comes to school, I just can't sit down for 5 6 hours doing research. I really can't. But past 2 3 years, I'd go to the library Saturday and Sunday, sit there for 6 hours, right? Obviously, I take breaks in between the hours, but like, math for an hour or math for 2 hours, and then I'll do engineering for 2 hours, and then the other classes, whatever, for another 2 hours, right? Homework. I do homework for 2 hours rather than study. And I just do that week in, week out. Um, and it was cool, but it wasn't as effective as spending an hour, 2 hours every single day to learn this material. All right? Everybody says it, don't cram for an exam, but people cram anyway. I, I do it too. I'm just blessed to be able to do stuff like that where I'll take the weekend and do spend that whole 6 hours and cram for that test and then take the test, get a B, and it's cool, whatever. But I know that never reached my full potential because I wasn't taking time every single day. Last thing, it's a lot more manageable, right? It is a lot more manageable to do. And I just talked about this at the very beginning of the episode. So to completely wrap it up, it's a lot more manageable devoting 1 to 2 hours. Even if, I want to go above and beyond, I got more than an hour, cool. It's a lot more manageable to devote an hour to 2 hours every single day, or just, 5 hours a week, than it is to, hey, spend 6 hours doing this. Spend very, very few people can spend 6 hours at a library. I know that. Very few people can spend 6 hours wherever else, right? Just sitting there focusing on something. I completely understand that. But you can devote an hour. It may be hard because you're stuck on your phone and you've been stuck on your phone for however many years. But as soon as you can break that relationship, I just turn off my phone. I turn off my phone, throw it in my backpack, and that's that. Put that off to the side. And it's like, okay, for this next hour, no distractions. If somebody really needed me, they gonna have to get back to me after this hour because there's no way to contact me. I turned off my phone because I'm so addicted to my phone that if it's the slightest easiest convenience for me to open up my phone, I'm gonna do it. Right? The slightest. And so I said, okay, cool. Let me make it as inconvenient as possible. Turn it off. So I turned it off, threw it in my backpack. So not only do I have to dig in my backpack to get it out, but I also have to wait for it to turn on before I could use it. So I was like, all right, that's the best option for me right now. I'm not going to leave it in my car or nothing like that. I'll bring it with me, but for this hour, while I'm sitting at the seat, we're going to be devoted to whatever I'm learning, whether it's school, whether it's profession, whatever it's going to be for you. So if you need to use that trick, go and use that trick. If you in a coffee shop or whatever, your car right outside, cool, throw it in there. Leave it in the glove department, boom, you good there. Or center console, boom, you get there. But like I said, the walk was too far. I wasn't leaving my phone all the way back in the car. So that's an option for you. And that's about it, fam. I'm gonna wrap up this episode. Episode's too long, like always. Um, but it is what it is. I think this information is valuable. I think this information is useful. So I hope that you take this information and apply it. If you're getting value, donate to the podcast. $1, $5, $10 every single month. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And I will continue bringing y'all great value and great content. So with that, y'all take it easy. Peace.